Hello students, and welcome to the next lecture in our series of lectures on Java programming language. In the last lecture we discussed the different loop statements: for loop, while loop, do while loop. I explained to the audience in what scenarios do we use loop statements, the different types of loop statements, their syntax, as well as a sample program demonstrating all the three loop statements. We had also towards the end of the lecture discussed the difference between while loop and do while loop. And as promised, I told my audience that in the next lecture I would be taking up sample programs to practice loops in more detail. So I have 4 programs with me. We will be using different loop statements to execute these programs. The first one is a program to print even numbers between 10 and 50. Now suppose if we don't use loops, then in that case we will have to use system.out.println, and I will have to print all the even numbers between 10 to 50 individually. But using loops makes your work easy because you just have to set the counter to the starting value and to the finish value, and accordingly it will keep printing the numbers those many number of times. So let's start with the class. Let's call it as print even as the name of our class. We will have void main, so public static void main, and we pass the string array. Now here we need even numbers between 10 and 50. So the starting value of my counter will be 10. I can use any of the loops, but I'll use for loop because here we know the range, we know when to start, we know when to stop. So starting value is 10. My stopping condition would be when the value of I reaches 50. So the loop will continue till I is less than or equal to 50. Now over here I will not increment the value of I by 1. I'll increment it by 2 because I need to print even numbers. So my first even number between 10 to 50 will be 10, then will be 12, then will be 14, 16 and so on. So rather than increasing the value of I by 1, I want to increase it by 2. So I am using the shorthand operator plus equal to 2, which is nothing but your assignment operator. This is going to increase the value of I by 2 every time. Now over here system.out println the value of I. Let's save this by the name of printeven.java. Let's compile the code. So Java C printeven.java, and now let's run the program. So Java followed by the name of the class. So 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 till 50 all the even numbers are printed. Now let's have a look at the next question. Write a program to accept a number and print its multiplication table till 10. So suppose if my number is 2, so I need to print the table of 2 till 10. If my number is 3, I'll print the table of 3 till 10. So let's call the class as table. Now here we need an input. Again I'll make use of command line arguments. It's an integer value, so I will have to do the necessary conversion. Using integer.parseInt, I will be converting the value to integer format. Now here my multiplication table will start from 1. So suppose if my number is 3, it will print 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6, 3 threes are 9 till 3 tens are 30. So every time I will be multiplying the number with a counter value. So my counter will go from 1 to 10, and every time I will multiply the number with the counter value in order to get the product. So my counter value will go from 1 to 10, and here each time I'll increase the counter value by 1. So I'll use I++. Okay. Now the answer every time will be the number multiplied by the value of I. Let's say you want to print the complete statement saying number multiplied by the value of I equals the answer. So it will print it in a complete format. Let's save this by the name of print table.java. I'm taking up very basic programs for my audience to understand the concept. So print table, and now let's execute. We also need to give the input, let's say the number 3. So 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6, 3 threes are 9 till 3 tens are 30. So this is the second program. The third one is I have to accept a number and print factorial of a number. Now what do you mean by factorial? Factorial means let's say if I have a number 4. So 4 factorial is nothing but 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. 5 factorial is 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So what you are doing is starting from the number till 1 you have to multiply all the numbers. So here again first of all you will need the number. Now as I said, starting from the number till 1, so you are going backwards. So my counter value will be initialized to the value of number. Number is 4, number is 5. So the counter will start from there, and because it is going backwards till 1, my condition will change. I'll say that till my counter value is greater than or equal to 1. When it becomes 0, you have to stop. So it is starting from the number, let's say the number is 4. So it's starting from 4 and going till 1. Now because it is going backwards, you need to write minus minus. If you write plus plus, it will go into an infinite loop because the stopping condition will never be reached. You are increasing the value of number and not decreasing it. So you are going backwards, so you will use decrement. Now here, every time you multiply, this answer has to be saved together. So I'll use a variable fact and I'll initialize it to the value 1. The reason because I cannot initialize the value of fact to 0. Since we are doing multiplication, anything multiplied by 0, the answer will become 0. So the initial value of fact has to be 1. Okay, and at the end of the loop, we will print the value of fact. Now let's understand the logic behind this. Suppose my number is 4. So the value of I starts from 4. It is greater than 1. So I go into the loop. Fact is 1 initially. So 1 into 4 is 4. I minus minus, I will become 3. The value of fact was 4. So in the next iteration, 4 into 3, the value of fact changes to 12. Then I becomes 2. Fact was 12. So 12 twos are 24. Again I becomes 1. The value of fact was 24. So 24 into 1, 24. Now the value of I becomes 0. That is where your loop stops. So the final value of fact that you have is 24. Let's save this with the name of print factorial.java. Let's compile it. So Java C print factorial, and we'll also execute it. Let's provide a number, let's say factorial of 4, so it will show the answer as 24. The last question that we have is program to print reverse of a number. Now reverse of a number means if your number is, let's say 173, it should reverse it to 371. So here again, first of all, we need a number. Then I'll need a variable which will store the reverse, and here I'll initialize that value to 0. Now here I cannot use for loop, the reason being that I don't know the number entered by the user is a 2-digit number, 3-digit number, 4-digit number, that is not sure. So I will be using a while loop in this case because the number of iterations are not fixed, and my condition for the while loop will be that till the number is greater than 0, I have to keep repeating it. Now at every step, first of all, you will have to separate the last digit of the number. To separate the last digit of the number, we divide the number by 10 and we use the remainder. So if the number is 155, when you divide by 10, the remainder is 5, which is the last digit. 371, when you divide it by 10, the remainder is 1, which is the last digit. So we get the remainder from the number. Now my reverse initially is 0. So I multiply 0 by 10, the answer is 0, plus the remainder. So suppose if my number was 173, when I divide by 10, the remainder is 3. Reverse is 0, so 0 into 10 remains 0, plus the value of 3. Now you have to change your number. So now the number will be equal to number divided by 10. So now 173, when I divide by 10, the quotient is 17 only. The remainder was 3, the quotient is 17. So now the number has been reduced to 17. Again 17 is greater than 0, so it will go into the loop. 17 when I divide by 10, remainder is 7. Now the value of reverse was 3. You have to move 3 to the tens position. So you are multiplying by 10. So it becomes 30 plus the value of remainder 7. So 37. Now 17 when I divide by 10, the quotient is 1. Again 1 is greater than 0. You enter the loop. 1 when you divide by 10, the remainder is 1. My value of reverse was 37. Again you move 3 to the hundreds position and 7 to the tens position. So you multiply by 10, it becomes 370 plus the value of remainder, that is 1. Now 1 when I divide by 10, the quotient is 0. So you will come out of the loop now and you can print the value of reverse. Let's call this as print reverse. I'll save it. Print reverse.java, and now execute it. Let's give the value as 3 or 173. The reverse is 371. So that's it for today. Hope you've understood all the programs very well. Please practice more such programs to strengthen your base. For any doubts or any queries, you can write into the given email ID. And for more in-depth learning, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.